Hey everybody, this is Kelly. Welcome back to another episode of Ask a Therapist. Today we're talking about cancel culture. I was resistant to doing this video, and in all honesty, I'm still kind of not sure I want to do it, but I feel like there's things that need to be said from a psychological point of view for some of you to understand what's really happening in the lives of people around you. So a quick definition for those of you who don't know: cancel culture is a phrase that is used to encapsulate the phenomenon where when someone, usually a celebrity or a famous company or a famous person, says something or does something that is markedly inappropriate, where there's a call to cancel them. And so you no longer follow them on social media, you no longer buy their products, you withdraw your support from them in order to let them know about the unacceptableness of what they've done. This is something you see a lot on social media. It's easy on social media for people on any side of an issue to be a little bit braver than they are in real life, because you don't have to see the faces of people you hurt. And because of that, social media becomes a place where the detractors from cancel culture and also the cancelers can both feel braver. Whenever we call something a culture, we are attempting to make it all one. Anytime you slap the label of culture on anything, you are effectively making it homogenous, okay? So there's no room for the nuances within that culture. It's just blank culture. So for instance, I used to be a youth pastor, and if I were to say youth ministry culture, fill in the blank here, there is no more room in that statement for me to say, well, some do, some don't. This is accurate. This is not accurate. If I say to prioritize entertainment is typical of youth ministry culture, that statement is a sweeping generalization that does not allow for any wiggle room. So I would say that people who use the term cancel culture are typically attempting to detract from those who are trying to have a say in what these particular celebrities or companies or entities are doing. So for instance, I am on a message board for my former profession, and on one of those boards, somebody asked a question about cancel culture. And it's really interesting because I've also seen a lot of people leaving the group recently, and I don't know if they're connected or not. Who knows? But it's interesting. The question was, what do you think about cancel culture, and does it have any place in the church? If we were really to try to unravel that post, though, what it comes down to is an attempt to put everybody on the same ticket. Everybody who is speaking out about injustice, about any injustice, are all the same. Anybody who is speaking out about particular celebrities that are doing things that are way inappropriate, it makes them all the same. And so it doesn't leave any wiggle room for any particular cause or issue. And I'm going to tell you that that's unfair. I'm going to tell you that is an inappropriate generalization. It's reductive. Terming anything a culture anymore is a bit reductive, because even if you're a member of that culture, it is difficult for people to hear blank culture is this and not apply that then when they know somebody later fits into that culture. So again, using myself as an example, if I were to say youth ministry culture is largely entertainment based, that is something that someone who maybe doesn't know anything about youth ministry is going to carry with them because they heard me say it. That is going to inform the way that they relate to youth ministry things going forward. I've had people on the other side of this conversation too come to me and say, do I need to effectively cancel this person in my life? They have this viewpoint. I didn't know that they had this viewpoint. I don't know what to do now. Perhaps you've seen the graphic that's going around about, can't things be a difference of opinion? And the response to that is no, not if your difference of opinion is removing rights from a living person. These are fair statements to make. I can understand why someone who does not understand why something they said or did was offensive would be then offended by the idea that their friendship or their association with someone could be canceled. I get that, but it's never, I hope you hear me say this really clearly, it is never the job of the person who has been harmed to explain to the harmer how they have been harmed. That is the way our legal system is set up, but you're probably not going to sue everybody who upsets you or says things like that on Twitter. I have been blocked on social media by more people in the last year than I ever have been before. And I don't feel like I'm that controversial on social media, but I do feel like I stand up for people who can't stand up for themselves. And that's just a calling in my life in general. Some people don't really like that. And so I've been accused of a couple different things. For example, one time I was called an apostate by someone, and they actually said they called me a heretic and an apostate. Another tweet they sent was, "It's a shame we can't burn heretics at the stake." Now, that sounds like a threat. But I'm also not going to go find this person and, take them to court over it. I am going to block them, which I promptly did. I don't have to have them in my life, but I also get to decide what I do as far as further action involving them. Here's the thing, y'all. It is your right to decide who you do and do not want in your life. You do not owe anyone an explanation as to why you don't want them in your life anymore. You do not owe to an oppressor to explain how they have oppressed you. You just don't owe things to people like that. You have every right to decide who you do and do not allow in your life. And you have a right to decide who you do and do not allow to speak truth into your life. There was a blog published recently by somebody, and many, many people in my life read it and have commented on it. And I'm not going to go into who wrote it or what the circumstances was around which they wrote it, but I will say something about this, because the whole concept of the blog was, can't we just be friends even though we have a difference of opinion? And what some people call a difference of opinion, I call a human rights issue. If someone is taking a stance that is against something that I believe very deeply and very strongly, I am going to say we can't be friends. And we can't be friends because I cannot give that kind of time and energy into a friendship of someone who legitimately believes that I am less than worthy. Why would I do that to myself? On another side of this issue, I was communicated with by someone we'll call person A, and it was about person B, who we also both know. And person A was very upset because they had just discovered that person B held a very different belief about something that person A feels equally strongly about in the opposite direction. And it was enough that they started to question whether or not that was something that needed to be addressed, whether or not it was wrong of them to keep that person in their lives, and whether or not they needed to do something about it. And I'm going to share with you what I said to person A. I said, did you already know this, prior to us talking about this, did you already know that person B held this opinion? And they said no. And I said, does knowing that they hold this opinion change who they are in your mind? And they thought about it for a while and they said no. And I said, then what do you want to do and why? There's a lot of potential answers to that. I would say that if their answer had been, well, it's just easier to stay friends, then I would say, okay, and that's fine. You have the right to do that. Also, though, maybe check where you're going with some of your convictions. Totally fine, but just be real. If they had said, no, I have to kick them out of my life because I don't want anyone thinking that I feel the same way as this person does, that would be equally troubling, because to remove someone from your life based on the fears or concerns about what other people are going to say is also problematic. The decision to remove someone from your life needs to come from you. A very famous author has come under fire numerous times in recent history for their statements that they have made regarding people who are transgender. I am not prepared to share my personal opinions, but what I will say is that while, yes, detractors, you are correct, this author has every right to their own opinion. Also, because this author is a public figure and because this author has made their opinion so public, the people who disagree also have every right to respond in kind. They have the right to say they don't agree. They have the right to choose not to buy materials by that author anymore. And they have the right to request that other people don't either. If I were to make a statement about something that I believe and you do not agree, you have the right to remove yourself from my life. If you do not agree and you come at me in a way that I feel is threatening or negative or problematic, I also have the right to remove you from my life. We don't actually owe each other anything when it comes to access to our life or to our thoughts or to our feelings. Every access that you gain from someone to their thoughts and their feelings is a gift. And you get to decide what you do with that gift. You may return it if you do not want it, but you do have some responsibilities in the returning. Now, when I see someone use the term cancel culture, I find them highly suspect. I wonder what their agenda is, and I wonder what it is that happened that made them think that it's okay to generalize everyone. The hills that I am prepared to go down fighting on are different from the hills that you are prepared to go down fighting on. And I believe that is what makes the world so beautiful, is that we all have different passions, and that's how we get things done. There comes a time in all of our lives where we do need to draw some sort of a line in the sand, and whether that line is protection of yourself, protection of your family, protection of people you care about, protection of a vulnerable population, whatever that line is for you is the line that you need to draw. And from a therapeutic standpoint, I do not see anything wrong with drawing that line where you need to draw it. If you like this video and want to see more like it, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and I will see you all soon. Thank you.